All right, so for trig functions, they're not like other functions. They each have their own individual derivatives, and you can't use your normal rules in solving for them. So the only way to do it is just to memorize all of them. All right, so we're going to be doing derivatives of trigonometric functions, and before we get to the questions, just want to go over the derivatives of each of the 6 trigonometric functions. So the derivative of sine of x is just cosine of x. The derivative of cosine of x is negative sine of x. The derivative of tangent of x is secant squared x. The derivative of cosecant x is negative cosecant x cotangent x. And the derivative of secant of x is secant of x tangent of x. The derivative of cotangent of x is negative cosecant squared of x. All right, our first question, we have y equals 7x to the 4th minus secant of 2x. And to solve this, you can treat each side of the subtraction sign as separate terms and take the derivatives individually. So your first term is going to be 7x to the 4th, and to find that, you just use the power rule. It's 28x cubed. And your second term is negative secant of 2x. And the derivative of secant is secant x tangent x, and with the 2x, all you do is just bring the 2 in front and then keep the 2x in the parentheses, so you end up with negative 2 secant of 2x tangent 2x. The next question, we have y equals negative 6x cosine x divided by 7 minus x squared. So for this one, you want to use the quotient rule, obviously, which is the derivative of the bottom, or the derivative of the top times the bottom minus the top times the derivative of the bottom, all divided by the bottom squared. So to start, you just rewrite the bottom up top times the derivative of the top. And to find the derivative of negative 6x cosine x, you use the product rule, which is the derivative of the first term times the second, plus the derivative of the second term times the first. So your first term is negative 6x, and the derivative of that is just negative 6, times the second term, which is cosine x, plus the derivative of the second term, which is cosine x, and the derivative of cosine x is negative sine of x, times the first term, which is negative 6x, and you just combine that. So that would be your derivative of the top, so you just write that in here. Now, the other side, you just rewrite your top as its top times the derivative of the bottom. And the bottom derivative is really easy because 7 is a constant, so derivative of a constant is just 0. And the derivative of negative x squared is just negative 2x. And you're dividing this whole thing by the bottom squared. So now you want to use the distributive property to multiply all this out, and you get negative 42 cosine x plus 42x sine of x plus 6x squared cosine x minus 6x cubed sine of x. And now over here, you have 3 negative signs, including the subtraction sign, so this will be a negative, and it's going to be negative 12x squared cosine x, still all over the bottom squared. And now you're not quite done yet. You can just look and see if there are any terms you can simplify, which we have 2 that are like terms, so you can combine those and give you a final answer of negative 6x cubed sine x plus 6x minus 6x squared cosine x minus 42 cosine x plus 42x sine of x, all divided by 7 minus x squared. Our third question, similar to the first one, you have y equals 2 secant of x minus tangent of x. And like the first one, you can treat either side of the subtraction sign as separate terms and take the derivatives individually. So for the first term, 2 secant of x, you use the product rule. And so your first term is 2 and your second term is secant of x. And again, that would be derivative of the first term times the second term plus the derivative of the second term times the first term. And since 2 is a constant, you really don't need to write out the left side there. So you can just go straight to the derivative of the second term, which is secant x. And the derivative of secant x is secant x tangent x. Times 2. And now your second term is negative tangent of x, and the derivative of tangent is secant squared x. Now you just multiply those two together, and get 2 secant of x tangent of x minus secant squared of x.